Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. So, I alluded to this the other week, and we'll talk about it right now because this is Kombo Klash. Now, this is a game from Hub Games that they sent me. This is one of the first review copies that I ever reached out for, and people said, "Yeah, sure, we'll send you something." And honestly, I had no idea what this was going to be like. I looked at it and said, "Oh, tile laying, combo chaining. Well, the artwork is really cool." Yeah. And then they said, "Yeah, we'll send it to you." And then it was like months later because of, the whole shipping fiasco and everything else. The release date wasn't actually until relatively recently. And I got it and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. 2 to 4 players, 20 to 40 minutes. Oh, you're going to include a little, playmat instead of a board? Oh, okay. Well, I'll play it. This seems nice. This seems quaint." This is a good game. This is probably one of the best filler games in my collection. I'll spoilers right out of the front. Not everyone is going to like this because now, again, hear me out on this one. There's a little bit of memory, but when you see how it's done and why it makes you feel clever when you do it, maybe you'll understand along with me. But again, there's also randomization. There's some-ish take that, and the player count, your mileage may vary. Let me go into a little bit more detail so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on it. Let's do this. So this is just the sample board for Kombo Klash. Now, this is going to seem relatively simple, relatively straightforward, until you actually start getting into the gameplay. The object of this game is, you can see around the board, and I love this feature, it's got the scoring track right there. Whoops, obviously I'm doing well already. Then you have the draw pile in the center, sort of creating this semi-obstacle. You'll see on the map that there are 4 dark colored corners, and that is where you are drawing and flipping up 4 tiles to start said game, if I can actually figure out which way to flip them for you guys. And so what you're doing in a short game is you play up to 50 points, a standard game up to 75, and a longer game up to 100. And you're using these tiles, and you'll see, I should probably show you them first, and they tell you exactly what you're doing based on which animal they are. Now, in the upper left-hand corner, you can see what they do. That gives you a little reminder, a visual on each tile. But then also, you can see in the upper right-hand corner the points that you're adding when you do said combo in the first place. Now, you'll also see I have sitting down right here double-sided tiles that tell each player right in front of them, okay, this color tile does this each time. So again, it's a little cheat sheet, if you will. And it's very intuitive, and it matches the symbol that you need to know as well. And then you switch to the other side, and it tells you that. And so it does a really fantastic job of this, and just keeping everything in line. And so that is all of the 8 animals that you're going to see in said massive draw pile here. Now, if this draw pile is ever out, you just shuffle and put it right back in. But you'll see this is sort of what you're doing as you're going across. Now, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to put 2 right in front of me like I'm actually playing. I don't need to, but it's easier. So 2-player game, you each draw 5 tiles to begin with. So very straightforward. And what all you're doing is you're playing as many of your tiles down on your turn that you want. A combo in this game is considered 3 or more tiles that are orthogonal to each other, not diagonal. So you cannot have sort of the tic-tac-toe, diagonal 3 in a row that way. You're going to have some combination orthogonally, and then you're just adding up the points, going around the outside, and doing that. Now, you have to play at least 1 tile on your turn, but here's the tricky part, is when you play one of your said tiles, you have to decide to score it right then and there. You do not get a chance to score it later on, if that makes sense. You'll understand it as I play. So you can see my starting hand. I have a kangaroo, I have a vulture, again, upside down, I have a gorilla, I have a chameleon, and I have another gorilla. Now you'll see from the rules, or from that little overview, the kangaroo, for example, allows you to move a tile to an adjacent empty space. So something like that. Now, obviously, the gorilla, discard your hand and draw an equal number of tiles, which again is very helpful when you're trying to get as many of these played. And then you have the vulture. Flip a tile from face down to face up. Now, it doesn't need to be adjacent, it just says any tile. And that is where this is really going to come in. Now, the chameleon, obviously, the chameleon copies anything that it's touching orthogonally, so it can copy from that side of things. So, if I've got my tiles here, just out of camera shot, of course, so we'll put them back up here so you can see what am I actually going to do on my turn. So, I'm going to put down this guy. I'm going to put down this guy. Now, I'm choosing not to score it. I'm choosing not to score it, but then I am choosing to score it this way right here. Now, then, when I choose to score it, 3, 6, 9, 12, first player's red, gets 12, these are all flipped over. Now, let's say, for example, this is where the nuance of this game comes in. Let's say that one of these, let's see if I can find it really quickly. Let's say I had another chameleon and a vulture instead of said kangaroo, right? So, this is where the nuance of this game comes in. Then, I could take my vulture, I could either put him here, or I could even put him here, because it's going to allow me to flip up one face down to face up, and then I could put it here again, then the vulture scores 3, I could do it that way, and I can get another 9 points. So that's 21 points already. These all get flipped up. Now, this is the aspect of things that people are either going to dislike or it's going to drive them crazy, because you don't it's memory in a sense. You have to remember what's down there, especially when you're using these tiles to begin with, because you have to be able to remember, okay, which one do I want to manipulate and move over here as a chameleon that I can then flip over? How do I want to do that? Now, again, if I had no tiles left, then I draw my 5 tiles off the top here, and then the second person goes. And then we have the raven, which does something completely different. Just draw 1 tile when I play it. We have the vulture, 2 chameleons, and we have the wolf, the other thing we haven't seen. And the wolf is take a face up tile and put this tile in its place. So that could be helpful if I want to get this vulture. And I know there's chameleons there, so maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to do this. Now, I'm not scoring this because I can't, because it's not a valid combo. But now I have 2 vultures, 2 chameleons, and a raven. So maybe I play the raven first to get another tile. And if I'm lucky, well, nope, it's an alligator. The last thing I haven't seen. Flip 1 or 2 face down tiles, or flip 1 or 2 tiles face down and score 1 point per tile. So if I don't like things that are up, so now this actually plays very well. I put this here, I flip this here, I flip this here, I get 2 points just like that. Now comes in the nuance of this game. I'm going to put a vulture there, flip that vulture. I'm going to put that vulture there, flip that chameleon, and then I'm going to put, well, we'll do it for the ease of camera shot. We'll put a chameleon here. Then we'll put a chameleon right here. And so then I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 points off of that. 20 points. Draw my 5. Rinse and repeat. Now, the only thing that you may be wondering yet at this point is because that's basically the nuance of the game. Manipulating and creating crafty, thinky combos to outwit your opponent, essentially. Very tactical in nature. But you may go, okay, Chris, well, all of a sudden, these get flipped over because we scored them all. And, okay, and then we lay some of these out, and, okay, that one scores there, and then they get 6 points for that. And so they're at 27. And then, we're doing a couple of these things where we've got the snake too. But let's say I don't really have anything else that I can put out right now that's going to be helpful. Maybe I do the gorilla, and I do that. I discard my other 3 tiles. I grab 3 more tiles. I get another gorilla, but then I have a chameleon, and then I get another 9 points. So that gets me to 36. Now let's say then next person goes, second player goes again, and I don't really have a whole lot. Let's say I do the snakes right there. 3, that gets me 6, gets me to 26 right there. And then, let's say I fill this up, but I don't score. So the filling up of the board also becomes very important, because now after I scored this, these get flipped over. Now what happens is very interesting when you fill the board. You remove all face down tiles. Now they actually even address if there's only face up tiles somehow, you leave the four corner ones, like the beginning setup of the game, and you remove all the others. But otherwise, in this sense, I would remove every single face down tile. So sometimes you may want to fill it, especially if I had not emptied my hand there at the end of that turn, because this all of a sudden would give me a lot more opportunity and space to consider scoring. Now you can see again that I've gone through a significant amount of the tiles, and then they're going to draw back up 5, for this person, and then they're going to draw back up 5 for this person, and you've got this huge stack of discarded over here. So you're going to go through these relatively quickly, and you're just going to shuffle them back up, and then when they're out, you just put them back in the middle. That is the game in a nutshell. But what a clever little game that it is. Let me tell you my final thoughts. So, as you saw with Kombo Klash here, this is not like a super complicated game, right? This is a very basic level game in theory, but the 8 different animal tiles that you have give it just enough depth and just enough nuance. Any less number of different animal tiles, and I would say that the strategy could probably become very repetitive, it could become very boring. But this game, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is deceptively simple. The combos that you're creating seems relatively straightforward when you're initially doing it. Well, I'm just going to lay down 3 of a kind, and I'm going to pick the highest number of whatever these numbers are in the upper corner, and I'll get 9 points or 12 points, whatever that is, and I'll just go and I'll just rinse and repeat. But there is a lot of manipulation that goes onto the board. Because when you first play it, you go, this is quaint. Oh, the board's full. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, what was face down there? Oh, I don't really remember. But then you realize it clicks. All of a sudden, that moment, that second or third time, when you have that epiphany in a game. If you've had that, you know what I'm talking about with, the tiles from that side of things. All of a sudden, the dropping of them in the places that it matters, the flipping back and forth, the strategic wiping of the board truly shows its importance. Now again, you're randomly drawing tiles. That's just going to not appeal to some people. But this is less strategic, highly tactical, which is the type of thing that I love at this point. It forces you to work with what is in front of you. It forces you to be adaptable. It forces you to think on the fly. And it rewards you ever so generously in this tortoise, nay, just a hair sprint between players. Because that's what it is in the end. This is maximizing every single tile you have in your hand on a turn-by-turn basis. When to hold them and when to fold them. Or, use them on the board, if you will. There's low overhead. This is a little bit comboing. I mean, the name of the game is very reflective in what you're doing. Because when you first start, you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm only going to get 9 points this turn, and then I'm going to get... You are scraping the bottom of the barrel with these cards and these flips on a turn-by-turn basis, dredging the landscape for 1 or 2 additional points that you can manage to just elevate yourself over the other person. I will say this because I cannot say it enough in some games. I love games that give you that moment of feeling clever. You can play this game anywhere from the 2 to 4 player count. I would argue probably 3 is the sweet spot, but 3 is also an odd number where you potentially cannot mitigate or easily as remember in this memory side of things when you're trying to remember what other people have played face down before the board gets cleared. And again, that's not going to be for everyone. But it plays so quickly that you can easily play 2 or 3 games in an hour without difficulty from that side of things. It is a perfect palate cleanser in a different way. If you don't mind that sort of analysis on a minutia memory style, beautifully illustrated animal combo game. I dare say, as we are practically 2/3 of the way through the year at this point, that this is a serious contender for one of my top 10 games of the year that I've played. I enjoy it that much from a smaller box, smaller overhead side of things. I do. I was not expecting to like this very much. I thought it was going to be mediocre. Something that would be nice with the kids. This is not a kids game. Don't be fooled by the cute, artsy, animals all over the place. This is not kid necessarily, I don't want to say friendly, but if you go head to head, it's not going to be comparable in that sense. The depth of nuance with the tactical nature of this puts it well out of that side of things in a very enjoyable manner. But, even when we were playing it, my wife was not a fan of this. This is not her style of things. But me and her brother, this is exactly what we love. This is exactly the type of situational, tactical game that I cannot get enough of. So I have no qualms about telling you that this is staying in my collection. Like, this is easily a 4 out of 5 for me. This may be probably even a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Like, I don't want to say like this is a perfect game because like the drafting and that side of things, and sometimes you just don't get the hand you want, and it's just going to be a little lopsided. But that's also mitigated by the fact that it's such low overhead, and the same thing can happen to the person on their turn next. So, but this is probably like a 4.5 out of 5 for me, which there haven't been too many of those games this year. So, yeah. Overall, I was not, again, expecting this whatsoever. I'm interested to see what Hub Games puts out, because their previous game that I have, Adventure Mart, which is also sort of this cutesy sort of bargain quest-esque game, if you're familiar more with the mainstream bargain quest as selling wares to adventurers who are going off questing. It's a better version of bargain quest. And this is also representative of the brand now. As a brand, I'm willing to go out and see what they're going to put out next for. I'm a little excited now, because both of these games fit different mechanics, different themes, and different ways of tickling up here than anything else in my collection. And so both of them are staying in my collection for that reason. So there you go. Is it for everybody? No, it's not. Is it for me? Heck yeah. So, especially with the price point, the overhead, the ease of teaching from a game side of things, works out well. So, there you go. That is Kombo Klash. Check it out. Stay classy. Have a great day.